Hello, third grade, and welcome to our math skill for today. Today we're going to be sorting the characteristics of different quadrilaterals into this chart right here. We'll be looking at the sides, the angles, and if they have parallel lines. Now we're first going to begin by moving these shapes underneath the correct column. So first, let's label the ones we definitely know. Do you see one of these that show squares? We have a square right here. So we can move that into the section. What about one that shows rectangles? Just rectangles. Well, from our activity the other day, we know that a square can be a rectangle. And the one next to it is also a rectangle. Next, we can label a parallelogram. They have pairs of lines that are parallel. Some might have a right angle, and some might not. They might have obtuse and acute angles. This one right here that has a square, rectangle, and two parallelograms is a parallelogram. And for a rhombus is a type of square that might not have right angles, but all of the sides are the same. And finally, a trapezoid that only has one pair of parallel lines that do not cross. Make sure you have all of these in the appropriate place. And then we're going to look at the sides. Let's first start with a parallelogram. What do you notice about all of the sides? Well, this one looks like these are the same length. I'll grab a different color so we can see these. And these are the same length. That's a square, so all of them are the same length. In the rectangle, these are the same length, but the other ones are different length, but they're the same or they match each other. That's the same for this parallelogram. The opposite sides are equal. And it looks like for this rhombus, the opposite sides are also equal. So when we are talking about the sides, parallelograms, the opposite sides are equal. What about a square? What is unique about a square and its sides? They're all the same length. All of the sides are equal. It has 4 equal sides. What about a rectangle? Let's look at the sides of a rectangle. Well, a square is a kind of rectangle, and a rectangle has opposite sides that are equal. Go ahead and label those as I am. The opposite sides are equal. So all rectangles have opposite sides that are equal. A rhombus is a type of square. All of the sides are the same length. So the four sides are equal. And finally, a trapezoid. The only unique thing about the size or the length of the sides is that it has four sides. It's quadrilateral. Now let's look at the parallel lines. Remember, parallel lines are lines that go on, oop, that's not a very straight line. Let's try this again. Are lines that go on forever and ever, but they never touch. If this line went over forever and ever and ever, they would never ever cross. So which shapes have parallel lines? I want you to put a star on every shape that has parallel lines, either one pair or two pairs. Well, we have this shape with one pair of parallel lines and another with the red lines. Parallelograms have two pairs of parallel lines. A square is in the same category. They also have two pairs of parallel lines. Here is one pair. They would never cross. And here is another pair. 1, 2. Remember, there are two in a pair. And rectangles are also a kind of parallelogram, so they also have two pairs of parallel lines. You can kind of see the theme happening. There's a lot of similarities between these three. Actually, it goes all the way to this fourth one, to the rhombus. There's a lot of similarities between those four, because a square is a type of rhombus and it has two pairs of parallel lines. Finally, trapezoid is the only one that only has one pair of parallel lines. And we can see that right here on these two lines. If these two lines went on forever and ever and ever, they would never cross. But if the other ones went on forever and ever and ever, they would intersect. They would intersect. Now let's look at the angles. Just as a reminder, one kind of angle is a right angle. That means that you could fit a square in the corner. A right angle is a 90-degree angle. 90-degree angle. If you've ever seen a compass or a circle, I guess, a circle, maybe you've seen something like this. If you move a line to 90 degrees, it would look like this on a compass if you see one. That's something you'll learn more in other grades. The other two kinds of angles you might see is an acute angle that is smaller than 90 degrees. Maybe this is 30 degrees. That is an acute angle, it's smaller. And we have obtuse angles. Those are large angles. Maybe this angle is 120 degrees. If it goes all the way flat, all the way here, that would be 180 degrees. So an obtuse angle can't be any larger than 180 degrees. Or I guess that would be a line, so 179 degrees. obtuse. So let's see if we can put squares in any of these shapes. Well, I know a square has 1, 2, 3, 4 right angles. I can label the other squares I see. A rectangle also has 4 right angles. They are squared in the corner. There's another square. Oh, and I see another square right here. And another rectangle. So let's look at these characteristics. For a parallelogram, do all of these shapes have right angles? No, but they all have 4 angles. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4 angles. 1, 2, 3, 4. They might be obtuse, they might be acute, but there are 4 angles. What about a square? It has 4 right angles. And what about a rectangle? It also has 4 right angles. Squares and rectangles always have 4 right angles. You could fit a square in the corner. And finally, for our last two, rhombus. That kind of looks like a kite. A kite is a type of rhombus, or a rhombus is a type of kite. That's another shape. And a trapezoid also just has 4 corners. Go ahead and highlight those 4 corners. Once you have put these in the appropriate place and made the squared corners and labeled the angles, you can move